Hey guys, welcome back to Jurassic Unicast. It's James, and I'm joined with Steve, who's somehow hidden in blackness while he's on a little route to pick his door up. How's it going? And we are joined with Terradome 3000 Jack Ewins. How you doing, mate?
Very good, you?
Yeah, good, good. I'm. It's been a while since we've had a little chat. You've been on the text chat for a while, haven't you? But we haven't had a little
Yeah,
chat
I
in
think
person for a little bit.
I think the last time we chatted, it wasn't too long ago. I was on
No,
here.
it wasn't too long ago.
I can't remember what we were talking about there. It was something about Rebirth.
Was
I think
it?
it was I think it was before it was named Rebirth. It was something else we were talking about.
JP
Jurassic Park 7.
JP7.
Yeah,
It
like
probably was.
expectations for it or something like that.
Yeah, and I think I lost Dino's World. Well done. All right, welcome to the chat. Yeah, we've also I've been on a couple of your live streams, and I just sort of on the chat and that, having to say hello and stuff. But yeah, no, a lot's happened since we've definitely last gone live together.
Yes,
So
I'm now
today,
tweeting out that we're live.
oh sweet, very good, thank you.
It's
So
hopefully-
today's topics are: was having trained raptors a good or bad idea to begin with? Dinosaurs as characters, good or bad? Claire's City Zoo comment in Jurassic World. Why Dr. Malcolm was right in Fallen Kingdom. And how Alien Romulus did it right. And it could be the future of how Jurassic World goes forward. And then our final thoughts. Obviously, we're going to go through the chat as well. People leave their comments. Hello, welcome to the stream, Allosaurus. Right, so let's get the ball rolling. The first topic is: was having trained raptors a good or bad idea to begin with? And the reason why I'm going to bring this topic up is not necessarily to do with the cool factor, because let's be frank, it was pretty cool seeing raptors being trained. It was more of the fact that it was something very, very different to what we'd ever seen before. So when we first initially saw this sort of stuff, Jack, how did you feel? Was you concerned, or was you like, okay, this is a bit different?
Obviously, my experience of this is going to be slightly different from the average person's because I first experienced this through reading the script. So my expectations of getting trained velociraptors before reading the script was like, okay, it's worrying because you don't want these things to be too tame. You don't want them to remove the fear factor and all that sort of stuff. And obviously, when reading the script, I was like, okay, so they're kind of just going straight for it and being like, okay, we're not going to beat around the bush here. You're going to see the velociraptors in broad daylight straight away. You're not going to see them hiding in bushes, all that sort of stuff. We're going to introduce these raptors as kind of almost characters in a way.
Yeah.
But then the switch is going to happen later, where like later on in the movie, they're going to go back to being those old raptors that we know and love. Like it's like they're wearing a mask the whole movie, and then they take the mask off and like, haha, no, it was us all along. We are the scary raptors.
I do feel like Jurassic World did do a good blend of that, because like at the time of watching, I didn't actually remotely at one point think I don't like this. Actually, to be honest, I didn't. I really, really liked the ideas of trained raptors to a point where it logically made sense for me, being they're so intelligent. I think where it goes hit or miss with certain people in the fan base is that up until this point, the Velociraptors were always looked at as being the main villain, wasn't it? I'd say
like the main dinosaur antagonist of the story.
Yeah, like whenever, like, you saw another big predator or anything else, but when the raptors had their time on the screen, it's like, you're like, right, here we go. And this was just so differently done, and I guess it took a while for a lot of the fans to sort of get used to the idea. Now, I think it helped the way they filmed this. I think at this point in the movie, they were talking. Chris Pratt was showing that he's above them. He's what's the word to opposite superiors? Can't think of what it was called.
Well, he's their alpha. He's their leader. So
so he's sort of above them, showing right now you will listen to me if you want food and stuff, and showing like how animals would be trained in the real world.
If we're going to go deeper, it's like psychologically, he's when the raptors were babies, they're always looking up at him. So it's to keep that kind of, I don't know, sense of control over them. By being raised above them, they have to look up at him and be subordinate to his sort of commands. However, obviously, we know as humans, it's also a safety procedure because he is out of their jumping height. Like he is just they can't reach him up there. So there's that aspect to it, but there's also the safety of the human aspect to it. Like he visually, that's telling us, he is their leader. He's above them, but at the same time, it's also saying, they if he was any lower, they'd jump up and kill him.
I think. I mean, in this part of the scene, I don't think they show that very well. It was because, but
until the guy falls in the paddock
to the foot, yeah. I think if they would have shown them being a bit naughty in terms of like trying to jump up and get him, and then he has to sort of use the clicker to sort of put him back in check, then I think maybe it would have had that effect a bit more, But I think this is a really important scene that sets the tone for. You could probably kind of predict where they were going with this, couldn't you? At this stage, at some point, we're probably going to get some, especially after seeing the trailer as well, seeing Chris Pratt on the motorbike.
Yeah, if you imagine seeing the film without the trailer, you would still come to expect, unless you're like a kid who's completely new to the franchise and knows nothing about it. It's like something bad is going to happen with the Velociraptors because of what you said previously. Like in the 3 films that came before, we know what the Raptors mean when they're. It's a different introduction, but we know what's coming later.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say I didn't like any of the scenes in Jurassic World. Actually, of the raptor stuff, I think that was all really, really well done. I guess what it is when it comes to like the topic of companies was having trained raptors a good or bad idea to begin with. I think it works for Jurassic World, because of. But obviously, the plot point without the raptors and the plot, it would have been done like a very completely different way, and it would have completely defeated the object of Blue having that connection with Owen, and it just wouldn't work. But when it comes to like, I think what it was is, see, for me, I'm very on the fence with it. I liked the idea of Chris Pratt being this super cool. But Owen being this really cool hero, like, the raptors don't go and kill, but he's the only one that has this loyalty with these animals. Anyone else, they'll just get murdered.
Well, he also only has loyalty to one raptor, as we find out in Fallen Kingdom, to Blue. The others, well, like Delta, she'll still attack him. It's Blue, as he says in Fallen Kingdom, that keeps him in line. So Owen's relationship with Blue is what stops the other 3 from killing him.
So it's definitely very different. I think it was a bit of a surprise, but I think it's hard to sort of judge it on this because I think Jurassic World actually handles, as much as the idea might not be okay for everybody, I think they handle the idea very, very well. I mean, if you're gonna show trained raptors, I think they showed it the best way it could possibly show.
There's also details in the film that I think some people overlook. Like one of the first things Owen says when Vic Hoskins comes up to him and says, "Damn, you got to meet him out of your palm," or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Owen says, "You came on a good day. It doesn't always end well." It's like they've done this before, and it's like you can imagine that's a bit of exposition to explain that they've had days where he's like tried to train him and they've just not listened.
Not listened.
It's kind of like how how Muldoon gives exposition at the feeding pen. He says a lot of stuff. As fans,
when the feeders came.
Yeah, as fans, we take that and like go, "Oh, that's great world building. Oh, they've been attacking the fences." We don't see it except for like when they the fences really go down.
Dialogue. The dialogue with Hoskins is great in this scene, actually. See, for me, I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of a trained raptors, but I think they possibly went a little bit wrong with it is the fact that you didn't see any other alternative. You only saw the trained ones, and you
Can I
didn't see
be?
any bad
Can I,
ones.
can I bring my argument into this
Okay, go on then.
for this? Technically, we have 5 raptors in Jurassic World.
If you're going to include the Indominus Rex, yeah.
Yeah, because the Indominus Rex is basically a giant raptor.
It's a 50-foot raptor. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
but
and so that for me, that sort of for my own personal taste, I just to get this out there, I like the idea of the changing it up with the raptors, because for me, if I want to watch scary raptors, the one I'll go to is probably the first film, because the raptors in the first film are the scariest in my opinion. But they so like, and we had, as we said, there's like 3 films of scary velociraptors. Like, okay, we've got 3 movies. When this was coming out, I kind of wanted something different. I wanted to see a progression of like our relationship to the most intelligent dinosaur that had been cloned by humans. So I welcomed the whole training aspect, because I thought, you know, yes, it might not be as scary, but I mean, for me at my age, but at least it was refreshing to see, and it gave me more options for when watching these movies. But the Indominus actually filled that void, because it is technically a velociraptor, but it's just an absolutely massive one.
Yeah, I kind of I do see what you're saying there.
But it's not actually a velociraptor.
No, it's not. I know, but it does have raptor-like behaviour.
Yes.
Hi, folks. Lorcan says, sorry, I hope I haven't butchered your name there. Jurassic World's introduction to train raptors was believable because there was still an element of danger and wild instincts in them. The level of training was basic. It took years of practice. Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom and Dominion took it too far, in my opinion. The Indoraptor following the laser pointer and the Triceratops following the beam were step too far from the Indoraptor squad. The Triceratops do make sense. Yeah, I agree with both of those comments, really, to be fair. I think what I didn't like about the way they changed with the Triceratops was the fact that they've changed the training technique for them. And it's almost like, hold on a minute, which one are we meant to find more believable here? The buzzers or the stupid float thing they use in the chaos theory, or the way Owen's doing it? Now, I know in real life, the way Owen does it is probably the most realistic way.
Well, the laser and the Atrociraptors and the Indoraptor hunt via the same method. You know, the laser sets the target. You know, point the laser at something. The dinosaur sees it and goes, "Okay, I'm locked onto that thing." And then the high pitched noise, whether it be the button on the side of the gun in Fallen Kingdom or the whatever the watch thing is, I think what Sonia Santos has, she sets it off. It sets off a high pitched noise to be like, "Go, like attack those targets."
Yeah.
Whereas I think I haven't seen Chaos Theory, but like
she's got like a little whistle. She goes like,
yeah. So how do they know? How do they know what to target?
I don't think it's the same way. I think it's more of like she doesn't do anything.
She doesn't do a laser, like a laser.
No, she doesn't do anything other than the. I know. I guess
I haven't seen it, so I don't know how they know.
I think in Chaos Theory, from what I can remember, she doesn't. She's got like a few different types of whistles. One of them is like basically stay with her. One of them is like go and attack. And she only ever says it when there's whatever there is, just basically kill whatever's in front of you.
Right.
It's not
so if they were in a crowded room, they might be a bit confused.
Yeah. But no, not even that. If it was in a crowded room, she'd just whistle and they'd murder everyone. It would be like, it's like all or nothing sort of situation. Right, that's how it came across.
Okay.
But yeah. Saurian Bot says, I will say though, the laser pointers do make a little bit more sense for why the raptors would attack their target rather than just hoping the raptors attack them. I think it's a very like taboo subject, this thing, because they kind of contradict each other in a way with the whole trained raptor situation. And I love the design of the Atrociraptors, but I don't like that they were introduced at all. Like, it annoys me and it bugs me that they were introduced, because I think it almost makes the Velociraptors downgraded.
I think the opposite to that.
So I don't think they need to be downgraded. They're already, brilliant enough on their own. And the fact that we've got now animals that are meant to be like the new version of the Velociraptors. That okay, no, forget about Velociraptors. They're in the past. We don't want them anymore. Like, yeah, you can stick with Blue because we have to stick with Blue. And she's a bit of a phenomenon with a little intelligent sort of being the unique one. But this is how we're going forward from now on. We're using the Trussoraptors. And I was like, no, I'm not ready for that. I don't want
I mean,
you.
I can understand that aspect. I think I disagree on it being a downgrade that they use the Atrociraptors, because the Atrociraptors to me feel dumber.
They do feel dumber.
Yeah,
that's why it don't make sense. But that doesn't make sense to me. Why would they use them then?
Well, because they're dumber and they'll follow orders. Whereas the Raptors, as we saw in Jurassic World, they tried to train them and it failed completely because they're too intelligent. Like the Indominus just talked to them, and went, "What are you doing?" And then they just flipped. It was like, they're too intelligent. Whereas the Atrociraptors are useful idiots. Is the way I'd look at them. But so I don't see it as a downgrade. I see them as the Velociraptors are better. If the Velociraptors for me were running around Malta, I'd be like, we've seen these guys, they're too uncontrollable. Now they're just controllable. It wouldn't make sense to me that way around. Yeah, I prefer that it's a new raptor.
But isn't it?
But they're not actually really a new raptor. They just look a little bit different, but they're pretty much the Lost World tiger stripe raptors and the one from JP3. Aside from look, it's just cosmetic.
I mean, I really like them. I like the look of them. I can't fault the design at all. It's more of just, I think what it is, it just, for me, they do seem a little bit dumber, but I also put that down to the fact that they're chasing Owen Grady, to be honest. So they're not going to kill him off. So they've got to make him look like dumbasses, aren't they? Just trying to dive and miss people. And Claire, they're not going to kill Claire either, are they?
I think they only get one person, don't they? The Atrociraptors, they kill one guy on screen.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So, yeah.
It's just stupid. Steve, your thoughts with it? Now you're actually with us. Welcome. First
of all. Yeah, my phone just completely lost signal.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So where are we at? We're
talking about the Raptor squad, and obviously it's whether having the trained Raptors was a good or bad idea to begin with. And I was saying how I actually like the way Jurassic World does it. I think it's very well done. But I think it kind of diminishes a little bit of, it kind of makes them look a bit more lower down the pecking order now since the Atrociraptors have now come in. Yeah, I don't unlike it.
Yeah, I like I said, we do like how they introduce that sort of taming element, and it's not like they're fully trained raptors, and that's what we're all feared when we saw like the trailers coming out in 2014. I like how they portrayed it, but compared to how the raptors were in the first trilogy, a lot of that fear has gone from these raptors. Like they don't. I mean, I don't know whether it's me being older or not, but like JP1 raptors, they're like this uncontrollable killing machine. Like you can't escape them. It just feels like, with the Jurassic World raptors, there's somebody there that could stop them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was Jurassic Park 3 for me.
Yeah,
because when Grant blew that flute and then the raptors just left, I was like, oh, okay. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, I thought there was going to be a bit more to that than they just leave.
I mean, let's face it, with Jurassic Park 3, we get a talking raptor, so that takes the fear out completely. So
yeah.
Now, see, I guess the fear factor, it kind of links into what you were saying just before Steve come on, Jack, about the Indominus. I guess with Jurassic World, they kind of put the fear element or the loose cannon of the raptor in the Indominus's brain. And then that was the main focal point of the film, which I think was probably why, but they needed to have that villain. They needed the Indominus to be like that because it was a hybrid. So it kind of worked having that psycho mindset. And it kind of just makes the Velociraptors, I guess, seem more like normal animals, which is fine. But it does, when you lead it straight on from what we can remember before, I guess Jurassic Park 3 you can't really use because of the talking raptor, but the Lost World striped ones and the Jurassic Park original ones, you just remember them like, biting off Arnold's arm in the maintenance shed and being these just things to fear.
It's also down to treatment, isn't it? In the canon, Moldy, everyone at Jurassic Park treated those raptors like crap.
Yeah.
And so it's like, of course, they're going to be antagonistic.
Yeah.
Just go back to the Indominus for a second. It's interesting that you mentioned what we were talking about before, the Indominus filling the kind of raptor shoes, because in the trailer for Jurassic World and in the movie, there's that line that everyone remembers of Owen saying, like, she's killing for sport. Like, that was all in the trailers and everything. If you go, I don't have it on me, but in the booklet for the Jurassic Park Laserdisc, I think it's also in some other booklets as well to Jurassic Park, it mentions how the raptors kill for sport, like specifically says that. And it's like, okay, so they're equating the Indominus as a raptor. Like they just are blatantly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, actually, like to sort of. What do you think, Steve? Like, obviously, because you've not really spoken an awful lot yet, so
I'm still trying to catch up with what's been said.
Anything kind of like to do with the Indominus, like, do you feel the same way, I guess, to what I was getting at, or can you see what I mean, or do you see differently when it comes to like the Indominus kind of taking the Raptors' traits until they go a bit wild at the end?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with what you're saying, like with the fact that it is part raptor. Like, a lot of its traits were that sort of raptor style, wasn't it? So,
yeah, but it was. Yeah. It did behave like a 50-foot raptor. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
like a 50-foot raptor from Jurassic Park is what he acted like.
Yeah, and if it had something big to jump on and latch onto, I'm sure it would.
Well, yeah, Patasaurus, but we didn't see it.
Yeah. That would have been a cool scene.
There's concept art of it, like on its back, isn't it? It's like dragging one down.
Yeah, that would have been a cool scene to see.
You would have, James. It's if I send it to you, you'll recognize it, I think.
Okay. Got a few comments here. Let's have this one. I think there could have been room for wild raptors to exist in the restricted section. However, implausible it would be to survive limited food sources. Now, early processing. Yeah, do you know what? That is one thing I was a little bit disappointed about, actually. As much as I still love the Jurassic World, I think that restricted section when the boys go into it and go to the old visitor centre, I was expecting to see a lot more. And they were so focused on, obviously, the Indominus and whereabouts it was and that sort of side of things. I really thought when we saw that restricted section on that big blue map in the control room, I was thinking, oh, I wonder what's in there. Like, is that where the old visitor centre is? Is that where, Nedry's Jeep's bloody place somewhere on, I mean, I thought we'd see a bit more from the old stuff. And it kind of didn't work out like that. I thought there would be wild raptors. Like that poster suggested, the Mark Englert poster that he made, like
put it hanging on my wall right there.
Have you? That's such a cool poster.
The night variant, the blue.
Yeah, and it was so well done. I was thinking, oh, that's such a good idea. Like having like wild animals in that section, but just leaving them be, and then we've got the main park side of things. I mean, logically, of course, that would make no sense and doing that, but it would be cool for them to have to go in the restricted section and then, go in there at your own risk sort of thing, but, so in conclusion, let's conclude this little topic and we'll go to a quick break and then we'll come back to the next one. Having trained raptors, a good or bad idea to begin with, if you're thinking about the trilogy as a whole and where it finishes, I think, so in hindsight, so if you look at it in hindsight, it's the way the Raptors end up becoming and having, I guess, Blue being the only one left and being replaced, and it meant having trained Raptors would be the answer for that. Would you have said yes to it or no to it, is what I'm saying at the begin with.
See, I was always probably against the trained raptors. until I saw the film.
Agreed.
That was my takeaway. I remember.
Yeah.
I think the film definitely helped.
I like, in hindsight, now we've got Dominion. I like the I like the arc of the trained raptors storyline. Like, I'm not necessarily going into it to be scared of them. I mean, I've never really been scared of any Jurassic film personally.
It's hard to say you've been scared, isn't it? Like, we're adults now.
Yeah, I can't really remember how I felt when I was 4 years old seeing the first film, but I remember watching the VHS loads, and I remember never really being scared of it. But obviously other people are different, and they do get scared of them. I've seen people scared of all three Jurassic World movies, the new one. So, but the point is, I like, in terms of interest when watching a movie and what you get out of it in terms of story and plot and what they do with it. I mean, if you look at the arc of the trained raptors, from Owen standing on that thing, feeding those raptors, to him being chased through Malta by the repercussions of his research, I love it. I think that's great. I think Colin in the Jurassic World Ultimate Visual History book says that he always wanted to have the visual of Owen on the bike driving away from velociraptors or raptors of some kind, because of his work had got out of control. It's kind of like, if you imagine if Hammond had an adventure, he's running away from his own creation. It's kind of that sort of thing. And that's like an arc, which ends, I guess, with the Atrociraptor falling back into the ocean with the bike.
Dave?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, already said, completely agree, really. I liked how they were in Jurassic World, and obviously it's set up for Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, but I don't know, it's a tough one. I do have like mixed feelings with it. Like, I do enjoy it as a part, but it's so completely different to like Jurassic Park and The Lost World, that I don't know whether I like it or not. I accept it for what it is, really.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm definitely ready to see velociraptors again without a human being behind them. Like, just as animals, as a pack, not having anyone else there controlling them. And
the wildness of it, really.
The wildness, yeah. I loved Jurassic Park 3 when I was younger. Like, I still like it now. I actually like it probably a lot more than I have recently, actually. And I like, other than those two stupid scenes, the one with the head in the embryo thingy and the talking part, I actually think they're really well made and done in that film. And I think they show how they're intelligent and, working out how to make a trap for the humans, using them as bait, Udesky and all that sort of thing. I thought it was really well done, and they still felt like the old Raptors for me, because there were jump scares. I guess with this is that everything you knew the Raptors were doing, we kind of knew was going to happen because of the way it was set up. Like, we knew the Raptors were going to burst out from the doors and go, because as much as I couldn't wait to see this scene while we was there, I knew it was coming. I was just like, yes, this is going to be awesome. We knew that was going to happen. But it wasn't until they got to the Indominus that they sort of went rogue. And that rogue side of things is like what I want to see more of now. I think we've had this moment. This moment should have been where it ended. I think the trained Raptors was a fouled plan. Like, Blue was a completely different situation, and they needed the remaining three to help take down the Indominus for that scene, right? So I completely get that. And it works for this film alone, I think. I think after this film, they should have left the trained raptor situation full stop, and then they should have gone back to being, I guess, wild. I think they could have done with Beta, if Beta would have had to be in this trilogy. Could have been in the second movie when they go back to the island, because I always felt I wanted more from that in the second film. I like Fallen Kingdom, but I felt we left the island far too soon. and I wanted to see more of that wild side of the animals being let out of Jurassic World post the Chapter 11 situation. So I think only having Blue on her own kind of didn't feel, as much as that scene with Owen walking felt quite intense. I mean, it just didn't feel the same. I didn't feel the same way. I knew he wasn't going to die because it was Owen. You know, if someone else would have walked through that forest and Blue, that would have been better because we'd have seen her wipe him out. I think that's the problem with having a hero character, isn't it? Like Owen, you just know he's not going to die.
Yeah,
Because that's the problem, I think. But yeah, I'm going to end with this chapter saying that I liked how Jurassic World handled the trained raptors, but I do think it should have been left there and it shouldn't have carried on.
If they bring back wild raptors, I would like to see them take down a large prey. I want to see that
100%.
pack hunting. Like the closest we've got to that in the movies is the fight with the Indominus.
100%, and I completely agree. And obviously, you can kind of take the.
I can't believe they haven't done it sooner. Like just the shot of like 3 or 4 raptors taking down a trike.
Yeah,
would be amazing.
Now,
like, just to see that.
Me and Steve had this conversation, Jack. Right? If they go back to Sauna in this new film, and they don't show the Spinosaurus or the Jurassic Park 3 or Lost World Raptors, I'm going to be so fucking annoyed. Because it's just it's like the biggest opportunity they can to do it. And if they do, it's the perfect opportunity also to do the raptors attacking the Spinosaurus, which I just don't think is going to happen. But how epic would that be to see?
I'll say this. I know nothing about this new film.
I did think you didn't.
No, absolutely know nothing. Except for like the blurb that they put out and the pictures, the two pictures. I have a sneaky suspicion we're not going anywhere near Sauna.
Really? So, what makes you think they're not?
It's old news. There's other things to do, other places to explore. Unless there's something really integral that exists in the original birthplace of the dinosaurs that's super important, they have to go back there. But I'm trying to think like what that could be. I'm sure someone could write something. I'm just not convinced. It
depends on how close to the Masrani backdoor sort of situation thing that you did, whether they even take note.
Well, I'm going like obviously I hope that they use anything that we wrote because obviously that'd be a great honor. But I'm going from the assumption that they're not going to use diddly squat from anything we wrote. So I'm thinking. Like think where the Jurassic story is at the moment, okay? So they're sticking with the World brand for Jurassic World Rebirth. So they're and it's a sequel to Dominion, right? So that means they are counting everything they've done before. If they're counting Cam Cretaceous and Chaos Fury as part of this canon, then the Spinosaurus is not on the island. Sauna is pillaged completely. The Buck and Doe Rex are in Biosin Valley. We introduced JP3 Raptors on the mainland. So it's like there's nothing there. So what's the point? What's the point in going to Sauna? It's just an island like any other. It only holds significance in our eyes as fans because we know it as like for the island from the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But for the general people, it's like it's just a load of woods on a rock. It means nothing to most people. So why? I don't think they're going to go there again. I think there's more interesting visuals, and where they're shooting at Rebirth, as far as I know,
is Thailand and Malta.
Yeah, it's like completely new locations, so it kind of tracks with what my predictions are. As much as I'd love to go back to Sauna, don't get me wrong, I'm sounding like a negative nearly, but like I'd love to go. Of course, I'm a fan. I'd love to go back to Sauna, see the Spinosaurus, JP3 Raptors. Yeah, of course, I'd love that. I want to see a tribe fight between the Tiger Stripes and the JP3 Raptors. I want to see that. But at the same, I just don't. My expectations are zero.
Yeah,
I don't expect anything. I'm like to cut a long story long. This is the first time I've been in this position with a Jurassic film since 2001, and so I'm like, going into this film completely blind, and I'm like loving every second of it. I don't want to go in and be like, I expect this and this and this based off what I've seen before. I'm going, the only expectations I have at the moment is looking at the track record of what's been done. And I think Sauna is cooked. I don't think they're going back there.
It was only
I mean, you make some good points.
Yeah, it was only the Blur that said about the Colossal 3, having to find something from the Colossal 3, and we're trying to work out what those Colossal 3
I watched that
be.
live stream. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. So
it's all guesswork, and I think we've got a mixture of hope and guesswork.
Yeah, I can't remember if any of you guys mentioned it, but I assume one of the Colossal 3 is a T-Rex.
See, we thought that
because even though it's not like technically the biggest of the theropods, it's one of the most it's the most iconic dinosaur, and it's like,
and that's what
you got to have that moment in the film where they go, and what's the third one we got to get the DNA from? The T-Rex, and everyone's like, oh my god, no, kind of thing.
Not again.
Yeah. And then Owen pops in and Claire, and they're like, we did this already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's where I think
gets the old blood transfusion kit out again.
Yeah.
We did this in an immovable truck.
Yeah.
Right, let's go to a quick break, and we'll be back in about 15 to 20 seconds. Dinosaurs as characters, was it a bad or a good idea? Let's start with our little buddy up here. So, Bumpy. Jack, do you want to share your thoughts on that one first?
Okay, dinosaurs as characters, good or bad? Depends on the context. Because, I like Blue. I think Blue's a fantastic addition to the story of Jurassic. Making her the anomaly and seeing her progression, and then the goodbye at the end of Dominion. I really like it. It's like, okay, and I'm like, that's it from the movies. I'm like, that's all you need, because the original T-Rex is like a character to us fans, but the way the people treat it in the movies is like it's pretty much like any other animal. It's like they don't look at it with the same kind of like, woo. Except for when Ramsey's like, we have the T-Rex here, kind of thing. It's like, oh,
which, by the way,
he knows the relationship to Grant and Ellie. So that's why he says it like that. But at the same time, it's like they don't look at it as a character. That's why they never call it Rexy in the movies. Outside, in terms of the movies, outside of Blue, there's not really any other dinosaur characters. Even Delta, Echo, and Charlie aren't really dinosaur characters because they don't have any personality. They're just velociraptors. Yeah. But then when you get into this sort of rubbish, I'm like, there's a certain line you have to get to, and you can't cross it with Jurassic if you want me. And I'm talking about me, right, as the fan, someone. As a fan who's been there since the beginning. When I see Bumpy, I'm like, I get it. I know why it sells well. I know why some people will really like Bumpy. But for me, I'm like, Bumpy is too much of a character.
She's like a dog.
She wags her tail in season 1.
It's
literally happy. It's like, it's just a dog. And there's a bit, I remember in season 2, I'm going to go, you're going to open up a can of worms now. Because I've had a beer and
it's fine.
Camp Cretaceous. In season 2, there's a bit where they're I remember this. They're hiding next to this warehouse, and Bumpy makes this noise, and Ben just turns to her and sort of goes shh, like that, and then and she backs off and stuff. And it's an ankylosaurus. This isn't
with a brain the size of a pea.
Yeah, what's happened? Anyway, I get why they're doing it for the kids. I get all that, and that's fine for them, and they can enjoy it. But as someone who loves the Jurassic movies and all that, I'm so happy they haven't really done anything like this. I mean, Blue gets very close.
Blue's borderline.
Yeah, but they actually make they take great lengths to explain why in Fallen Kingdom. She is an anomaly. She's unique and special and all this sort of stuff, and it's not like Bumpy, this random Ankylosaurus that just gets born and then it's just this like hyper intelligent creature.
Because what we don't want these dinosaurs to be is pets, because the second they start being that sort of same line as pets, then
no, Bumpy's a pet.
Yeah,
100%.
All that element is just gone. I mean, I think Fallen Kingdom does it well in the beginning, where like Blue's running around the forest and she approaches Maisie, and like Owen's no, back up, and she's still that wild creature that can kill you. So I think they did it well there. So it keeps her character from that fine line of being a pet, like a trained pet, to a semi-trained dinosaur.
Yeah, she's only like that with Owen and maybe Barry as well to a certain extent. So I guess with Blue, she does sort of have that little bit of a difference. But when it comes to things like this, I think this is where they should have stopped with Camp Cretaceous, though, is I don't mind the babies being, I guess, characters that they thought they like, because who wouldn't like a baby dinosaur? Even we would be like that if we held a little Ankylosaurus. And you want to call him Bumpy, that's fine. But, the fact that he then becomes, this 40-foot long Ankylosaurus
who jumps from explosions while a kid rides his back, putting hand sanitizer on at the same time.
Yeah, then it does go a little bit too far. It goes a bit too far, definitely, for sure.
Think of this, right? Think of this juxtaposition. There's a scene in the book, the original novel by Crichton, where Lex names a baby, or Lex names a baby velociraptor.
Yeah,
I remember what she calls it now.
She also
changes
names
color and everything, and then it gets eaten by the velociraptors.
Yeah,
I think they even throw it as bait. Like they throw it towards the velociraptors. It's been a while since I've read the book.
Yeah, no, you're right. It does.
They throw it towards the velociraptors as a distraction. They just eat it.
Yeah, that's funny.
Compare that to Bumpy.
That'd be great. Imagine Bumpy just getting fed to like another animal.
It's like the books tried to make it a character. Like, oh, look at this dinosaur character, this cute baby. Oh God, it's being eaten.
Look up, and it's just like the bottom half of it left.
Yeah.
So you've got like Toro as well. Toro's now the Toro situation. What did that come from? Was that the one that got burned in the explosion?
Yeah.
Well, they called it. What did they call it, Toro? I can't remember.
Because it looks like a bull. It's got the
Is that it? That's the reason. So there's no distinguishing that between that and another Carnotaurus at all. Then so they could all be Toros. They could all be Toros then, really, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
this is the thing I was saying about the T-Rex. The fans know it as Rexy, and obviously it gets the nickname Rexy by Muldoon when he's drunk in the book. But like the way it acts, it's not an actual like defining character.
No,
like the Tyrannosaur in the first movie, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion, acts no different to the doe in the Lost World. Aside from we didn't see what Rexy would do with a baby, it's like it doesn't act any different to any T-Rex we know of. It's like it's just a T-Rex.
Yeah,
we just know it outside of the films. And Toro's kind of cut from that same cloth. The characters call it Toro. They recognize it, go, oh, that's Toro, but it doesn't really act like any
character.
Yeah.
No, I guess dinosaurs as that named animals more than characters. I guess I think we look at them as characters because on an IMDb page they would come up as a character, right? But what I mean is more
not even that. So if you're looking, like Jurassic World was technically a zoo, and like pretty much every zoo you go to, all the animals are named, aren't they? So maybe that's where it could come from. Like with these names of all these dinosaurs on the island comes from the Jurassic World like theme park.
Yeah, I guess because most animals are named in zoos. You're right, and it helps them have that relationship bond with the handlers.
Yeah, but it's just drawing that line.
But when it comes to something, you don't. I think if you was to go to Jurassic World, you would have that sort of. You'd like to see them in that way because it'd educate you the thinking then that they are actually just animals. I guess that's where our title and our thumbnail comes into things. Really, it's almost like quite a good segue. Really, is what Jurassic Park originally was about, and Jurassic Park, the movie and the book, technically were both made to a point where they weren't meant to have a sequel. Like they napalm the island, for God's sakes, in the book. And these animals in Jurassic Park and in the Lost World were like completely cannibalistic. They'd kill each other. They were just absolute psychopaths most
And the
of the
first
time.
film, you had the lysine contingency.
Exactly. So like
Which is,
all these different...
until the Lost World, they didn't answer. Hence the tagline "Something has survived" was the big tagline for the Lost World. It was like they were meant to have died.
Yeah. So you got all these things, and you just think that's what Jurassic Park was meant to be, and I think the first couple of films we did kind of get that, and then I feel like now they've just steered so far away from what Jurassic Park was meant to be. But as much as I think Jurassic World was a very, very violent film, like so many people die in that film, and I think and that's what I love about it, actually.
And dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs die too, and that's what I really like about that, actually. But I think after the fall of the park and the animal welfare things come into it, I think, in real life, yeah, of course I wouldn't want to start murdering these animals, and like, especially if they're like harmful, like harmless ones. Of course, I wouldn't want to do it. Unless it's for the good of like actual nature. Like for example, like the Yellowstone situation with the wolves being so overbred, they were causing a knock-on effect in the ecosystem. So something had to be done. Deers are the same in farms. Like it's more harmful for the species to not kill them sometimes. So it's like, I think in terms of things like that, it's okay. But as a fan going to watch a film, I don't want to see dinosaurs living in peace. I want to see them stomping on people and murdering people and, causing havoc, which is what we got from the first two films. Going in their environment, you're in danger. Like you're isolated, you're secluded, and we don't get that anymore. And I'm hoping this new film, we steer away from all this crap and we just they're just animals that are they're monsters again. I don't want animals. I want monsters again. I think we've had, I think we've had the animals, we've had the welfare, we've had the caring for them, we've had the blue situation and the beta.
Wait, this is where I'm getting lost in the semantics here. I'm getting lost in the semantics because they've always been animals to me. I think that was the point Jurassic Park made. Lex is like, don't let the monsters sit, and Grant's like, they're not monsters, Lex, they're animals. Like the whole.
But then he also
reason why we cheer for the whole reason why we cheer, or we're supposed to cheer for Malcolm and Sarah saving the baby Tyrannosaur and the male Tyrannosaur, going through all that stuff with the car, getting the male back into the boat, was because we didn't want to see. We knew we understood it was a helpless animal just doing its thing rather than an actual monster out to kill.
But I would argue
I'm getting lost in like what you actually mean.
But I would argue with that, saying that with you mentioned what was your first point before you said about the baby T-Rex?
The Grant saying to
the Grant situation, that's right. But then also in Grant Jurassic Park 3 also says these creatures are nothing more than theme park monsters, nothing more, nothing less. So that's obviously then contradicts what he says. So he's obviously gone through the experience since Lex and thought, actually, these animals are absolute idiots and like.
Well, there's two reasons. There's two reasons he says that. One, he looks at them as monsters because they tried to eat him. Two, he could be saying it because he's like trying to keep people away from the islands. Like they're also interested in it. He's like, they don't need to go near that, anywhere near those. So it's like, and when he gets to the island a few scenes later, he says, "My God, I've forgotten," and he is in awe of them again. Like he still studies the raptors later on in that film, and he's like, "What are you saying?" Like he's still curious about them.
He's got a wonder for them, of course, because
as animals, not as monsters. Though he's not studying them because they're monsters. He's looking at them like, okay, there is something here for me to learn, kind of thing. And then that's the whole arc of Grant and Jurassic Park 3 is going from astronomer to astronaut, and so I don't know. I get lost in this. Like, I'm trying to pin down what you actually mean when you say this. Like, I want monsters again.
Well, I just want
you just want getting killed.
I just want Jurassic Park. I guess I just want the first two. I want the tone and the way the first two films went. Again, that's all. Like, I'm happy with whatever we've had so far. It is what it is. It's done now. That's the direction they went in. It was different to what I wanted from Dominion, definitely. Pardon. Steve, look, you've been sort of hearing both our conversations. How do you feel?
I'd say like the closest thing that we've got to in the new Jurassic World trilogy is probably the stalking part with the Indoraptor in the mansion. It's that sort of like fear for these creatures, like fear for these animals, where a lot of the other scenes, again, I go back to the fearsome side of it. Jurassic Park had a lot of tense moments, and you like the kitchen scene, you feel like these characters could die, and that fear element needs to be in this new film. Like I said, the closest thing we got to in the Fallen Kingdom was the Indoraptor stalking Maisie through the manor, and there was that time where you just think, something could go wrong. And I'm trying to think if there was a time in Dominion that we'd felt like that. Probably the
Therizinosaurus, yeah. And again, for me, I think we didn't spend enough time in Biosyn Valley, like in that actual jungle. Not.
See, I agree with that. As someone who likes Dominion, I was really excited to go explore. Like when Claire's going through it, I thought there was going to be at least a couple of shots where she like walks past some parting trees and sees like a valley of dinosaurs or something, like just living.
Just see, you just get one dinosaur and then it goes to the next scene, then another one, next scene, another one, next scene, and that's it. And it's just sort of like throwing these jumbled up scenes into a film.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I did like about, I think there wasn't any of this character situation in Dominion overly too much, other than obviously the Atrociraptors, but I wouldn't say they were characters. You didn't really know who was who. They didn't start saying, hey, ghosts, come over here. It wasn't like that sort of...
They never even named them. They never even said their names on screen.
It's only the promotional stuff that give them names so kids would have toys for them, didn't it? So in that, I can let all that slip. Absolutely.
I think Blue's the only dinosaur character.
Blue's the main character.
And she's not in it that
much. And obviously Beta as well, because if they do name Beta, don't they? But see, it's I think I'd say dinosaurs as characters for us to sort of see. I don't have a problem with people calling Rexy, and I think that's because it just deciphers the difference between what T-Rex they're talking about. When they say Rexy, I know they mean the original T-Rex, and I know they're not talking about the buck. Just for conversation, I know exactly who they mean. I wouldn't want it in dialogue, but if I'm a fan and you say to me, "Oh, that's a picture of Rexy. Did you see it?" I know exactly who you're talking about, and it's not because I like her as Rexy. I just know which one you're talking about because, as a fan base, we've narrowed that T-Rex down to having that name.
It's easier to say than the original 1993 T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So
I'll always say Tyrannosaur.
Whereas if you say the doe, I know you'd mean the Lost World one. And if you said the buck, I know you'd mean either the Jurassic Park 3 one or the Lost World male, because they're both the same thing, right? So I think it's a similar sort of like, that's different, I think, knowing when you're naming an animal as a characteristic trait based on what their appearance is. But I think Bumpy is definitely like crossing the line when it comes to characters.
I genuinely think Blue is the limit for me.
Yeah.
Like Blue, and they've done it now. So I'm like, okay, we've had that storyline, we've done it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to other things. But I'd hate to see that kind of thing done again.
Yeah.
Dinosaur characters of all time. I wouldn't even class Stiggy as a character.
No.
Stiggy's just a Stiggy Moloch that just appeared in that film. We just called it Stiggy because it's the only one that we've ever seen up until this point.
Yeah.
and it was smaller. It was just less pain in the bum to say than Stiggy Moloch every time.
Here's a question though: is the Spinosaurus a dinosaur character? It definitely has a defined personality compared to the T-Rexes.
It does,
and it only appears once.
Yeah, but then I guess that's in the same. It's in the same boat as the original. The T-Rex was, the original T-Rex until the point of Jurassic World when it comes back. But then even in that movie, they didn't quite. They didn't sort of big it up, did they? I remember in the movie theater, I having to actually explain that to my mum. Oh, by the way, that is the original T-Rex from 1993. It's not just a T-Rex.
Just another one.
Yeah.
I've been watching loads of reaction videos to the Jurassic movies over the last year or so. Like whenever anyone uploads one, I watch it. And the amount of times people talk about the T-Rex in Jurassic World when they get to that movie and they start talking, I've only seen a few people go, oh, the scars. Oh, is that the one from the first one? I don't know. Not many people they don't really care. They just go, T-Rex, a T-Rex. They know the species more than the individual.
Yeah, it needs a JP tattoo on the the arm or something.
Yeah. No, I think I think we're going on to the T-Rex a little bit. I remember they tried to, after the Jurassic World, having that fight with the Indominus and obviously teaming up with Blue. It looks like they're tag teaming when, to me, they're not. They're just, the T-Rex is just going to fight that regardless of whether Blue's there being an annoying bee the whole time, regardless. And it just seemed like at the end, I think I can't even call her Rexy then, Jack, nearly made you twitch. Rexy was so
I don't mind people calling her Rexy.
I just think, because I think she was so knackered that she just looked at Blue and thought, yeah, nah. I can't be bothered.
I suppose she didn't see Blue as a threat at that point.
No, she didn't.
One
also,
against the Rex.
as Roland Tembo famously said, the Rexes don't hunt when they're not hungry.
Yeah.
There you go. It's got.
She clearly was just being territorial. She just wasn't. She wasn't hungry. She's just she just ate a goat that morning.
Yeah,
at least she'd been fed that day.
Yeah.
Which director, Jurassic Horror says, which director will direct a dinosaur movie that aren't Jurassic Park? Russo, I don't understand what this question is. Which one would, if we had another dinosaur movie that wasn't Jurassic Park, which one of these directors would you want to direct it?
Out of those choices, definitely Christopher Nolan. I'd love to see what he does with a dinosaur movie.
To be honest, I don't know a lot of them.
You must know Christopher Nolan.
I know Christopher Nolan, and I know Michael Bay, and the Russo.
Roland Emmerich?
No, I know the Russo.
He directed Godzilla '98.
Oh, okay. I like that film. He'd be a good choice, I think.
AK Jurassic Park 3.
He'd be. That's canon to the Lost World. That film. I'll stand by that.
I've been looking for years. There's a Starburst magazine that came out before Jurassic Park 3 and just before that Godzilla film came out. I used to own it and I lost it. I've been looking for it for years. I'll probably buy it on eBay. But the only reason I'd want to buy it is it's got right in the back a picture of the baby Godzillas coming through a door with their back lit. And it has, in magazines how they have a little blurb underneath, a little joke. It says, first still from Jurassic Park 3, ... No, it's Godzilla. And I'm like,
I need it.
Yeah, I love that film. That's my favorite Godzilla film. That one. It's just so 90s. I think it's because if it wasn't made around that exact time that I loved movies the most, I probably wouldn't have that association with it. Because I understand from a Godzilla fan's perspective, it's not Godzilla, but
it's a version of Godzilla.
For me, it just holds. It's my Godzilla. Because it's what made me actually like it. I think it's because it's so dinosaurian, I guess, and has that 90s. It belongs in the Jurassic universe. I think that's it. It has that feel to it. Anyway, I think we should move on to the next topic after a quick break, and then we'll be back. Okay, so we're going to move on to Claire's City Zoo comment in Jurassic World. Now, Jack, obviously you're not going to have a clue what we're talking about here and what the reference is. Steve, did you want to get us rolling?
Yeah, I'm
and
just
what
bringing
we come up with this sort of situation about.
Just bringing the quote up now. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about, to be honest.
Well, it was to do with how she says, people they're bored of dinosaurs because they're very ordinary now, and where they've been put in the park setting, everybody feels safe, and they're just like, I think it was to do with this is what I was saying, is how protecting these dinosaurs has made, I guess, the fear factor feel less. And it's not necessarily because of, we're meant to be scared, because at the end of the day, like, we're adults. We're not going to go into this film scared and trembling. It's more of the fact that it's the way they're shot and the way they're made to come across. And in this, and obviously having them in the zoo obviously does make them nerfed a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, that was it. So I was just trying to think what we were talking about fully.
Was it to do with the Malcolm comment?
Was it?
I don't know.
I really wish I'd written our conversation down, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. It's quite funny. But, I suppose we could probably link this conversation back into the other one, really. We probably have kind of covered it in one way without realising.
Yeah.
About how, like, having these animals in captivity and then, seeing them in a different light kind of makes it kills the vibe of what we knew before this happening. Like in Jurassic Park, these animals wouldn't be in the same sort of setting. In fact, let's talk about that just quickly. How useless of a park Jurassic Park would have been in terms of showcasing the dinosaurs.
Yeah. So
Jack, have you ever thought about that as well? Go on, Steve.
Yeah,
sorry,
definitely. I mean, that's why just compare the T-Rex paddocks. In the first one, it's this giant open expanse, and they don't see the T-Rex at all.
Yeah.
And then in Jurassic World, it's contained in this like just big enough enclosure that they can literally walk through a log and stand right next to it while it's eating. It's like,
yeah. Steve, sorry, what was you saying?
I was going to say, like, Jurassic Park is more of a safari, and Jurassic World is like a zoo. So you just got to treat it sort of like that, haven't we? So you'd say, like, what would you say you're more scared of? Like, would you say you're more scared of being in a safari or at a zoo? Because I feel safer when you're at a zoo.
Oh, 100%.
With safaris, you got that sort of like fear element.
I've seen videos of like lions jumping on car bonnets, opening car doors with their hand, like with their mouths. Like, yeah, no. Imagine being in a safari and actually going in. Although Jurassic Park doesn't show you doing that, it doesn't actually say going in. Doesn't show them going inside the enclosures, does it? Like the main cast get that privilege because they're being shown the park to endorse it. That's a complete. In a normal tour, they wouldn't be getting out of those vehicles.
Yeah, but like Jurassic Park felt more like a safari.
Oh, yeah,
style.
It did. It was a safari. And a lot of people like that aesthetic more, but practically, it just wouldn't really work at all, would it?
Imagine spending $10,000 to go there for the day and not see anything.
I went to a little local wildlife park, like literally close to where we live, and they had one of those what are they called? Servals. It's an little African cat that's like the size of like a medium-sized dog, right? And I'm not joking, I saw 2 ears like this sticking out of a bush 50 yards away.
Was it moving, or was it just a?
No, it was just sat there. It was just sat there like sunbathing. But all you saw was his ears, and it's just like that's reality of a theme park with animals in, and that's what it would be like. Whereas I guess the Jurassic World kind of manipulated the animals to be showcased, didn't they? Especially having the Gyrosphere Valley.
In Gyrosphere Valley, that's kind of like a safari.
Yeah,
And also the Gallimimus one when you're in the trucks driving alongside them.
yeah.
Whatever.
Didn't they have the sensors on those gyrospheres though, where they were meant
You
to
couldn't
have
get
like
too close.
couldn't get to, like they had like a tracking, like a beacon in them that would.
Yeah,
be a
I mean,
deterrent.
from just thinking about it and putting myself in the shoes of the people in this world, I would argue that I would probably be more scared of the gyrosphere than I would be of being in a tour car on a track with dinosaurs behind a massive electric fence.
That's
I think
different.
being a glass ball right
I
next
think-
to the Patasaurus while it's walking past, I'd be like, is this safe? Because this is like,
Yeah.
like, we are
And that-
literally in this hamster ball
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
these things. I mean,
completely
I think
agree with that.
And
Actually,
obviously, Zach and Gray find out, don't they?
Do
do you know what the
off road?
yeah, they do.
They instantly meet an Indominus and Ankylosauruses.
Yeah,
But aesthetically, like it looked like from the look of it and the way it's presented in the film, I would say yes, Jurassic Park comes across more scarier than what Jurassic World presents. I'm like saying if I was actually there, I would think the gyrosphere is probably pretty damn scary.
Yeah.
But the way the movie presents them, I think it's down to like the music and stuff because
yeah, it's
obviously
very
when the boys are
tranquil,
in,
isn't it?
when the boys are in the gyrospheres going through Gyrosphere Valley, it's the wondrous moment. They're like, it's big
It's meant to be
triumphant
fun, isn't
music.
Yeah,
All sorts of stuff. When the characters are in the car driving through the T-Rex paddock in the first film, the first time they do it, zero music, nothing. All you hear is the jungle going, and it's like you're just hearing the sound. So you're in their shoes, and and you know that there's a T-Rex right behind that fence somewhere. So you're like, with no dinosaurs on screen, it instantly puts tension up.
exactly. But this is, do you know what, Jack? I'm glad you've done that because you've kind of this is the thing that we need back. It's that. That's
well,
what
that's
we
yeah.
need
So
back.
it's. I'm not saying that to say that Jurassic World does it worse. I'm saying that like they're telling a different story at that point. When Zach and
It's a
Gray are
different
going
tone.
through because they're telling a different story at that point. When
different
Zach
tone,
and Gray
yeah.
are going through the Gyrosphere Valley, it's not meant to be a tense scene. It only
No.
gets tense when they're when they find the gap in the fence and they go through. And then when you're with them and the Ankylosauruses, if I remember correctly, there's very minimal music. But like when the characters are going through the tour for the first time, and especially considering it was the first time we were going on this adventure, so the anticipation of seeing any dinosaurs was much higher. They ramp the tension up way more just by simply having no music. Like,
Yeah, no, I do think it's the music with Jurassic World. I love the soundtrack, but it definitely does feel a bit more like.
There's
I
a lot more
think-
constant music. in
Yes, a
modern
lot of more
movies.
modern. Yeah, there is. That's what I was trying to get to actually. Yeah, I feel like even a scene that doesn't require music at all will have something playing, and it's the sound design, and that's what I think. That's another little thing that I was a little bit disappointed with Dominion with actually, because it was the same sound design person that did the original movie, right? That did Dominion.
Gary Rydstrom helped out. He was he was consulting.
So I would have thought there'd be a lot more of that. Well, I guess the Therizinosaurus, that scene.
There's still
It's
music playing through that though.
But it's, I suppose it's a little bit of a thump, like a.
It's not like overbearing. I think there's.
It's more Jaws-esque.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's any. I can't think of a scene. Oh, the music drops out during the Malta chase. So like when Owen gets on his bike and he drives off for the first time and he does the jump, they have the music and then it cuts to something else. And then when it cuts back, it's like there's no music for like a good portion of that chase until he turns that corner and sees the Carno and the Aloe, and the music cuts back in. It's like because when I was watching a reaction to it the other day, I can't remember the channel now, the Media Nights, I think they watched it a few weeks ago. They commented on it. They were like, "Oh, great! There was no music in that scene." They really loved that it was like ambient. You're hearing like
it was just
the cars,
just the engine.
I'll have to check that out because I've not watched Dominion in quite a while, so I'll have to rewatch that scene.
It stands out. It's like it works. But obviously, as older fans as we are, we're used to seeing these kind of visuals and stuff. But for people who don't really sit in Jurassic as much as we do. It hits different. They notice things that we otherwise notice. I never really picked up on it until I saw their reaction. I was like, oh yeah, the music does drop out there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to check that out.
I think the soundtrack and the way they use the music in this film is going to be really important, to be honest, because I definitely do want that tension again.
Well, I hate to say it, but obviously it all comes down to it all comes down. No, because I hate to say it because it's so obvious, but it's just like are you talking about Rebirth, right?
Yeah.
The new film. Yeah, it obviously all comes down to like the post-production process. I think Gareth Edwards has an eye for this. It depends on how much control he has, because there's a few scenes in Godzilla 2014 where
heavily involved.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even Gareth Edwards in Godzilla 2014 knew when to drop music out. Like when they're on the bridge, in San Francisco, there's a whole scene where there's no music when Godzilla comes up to the bridge for the first time, and there's no music when they're on the bridge when the Muto's climbing underneath it, if I remember correctly. There's a few tense moments where you're like, he knows not to have any music. I just hope he applies that, or is allowed to in the editing room.
Yeah, definitely. Robo says that's something I 100% agree on. One thing I love about the original two movies is that some scenes have no music at all. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. We would love that feel of just being in that environment with those characters at that moment and that time. And I think the thing that Jurassic World didn't have the luxury of, though, and even
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, James is frozen. All right, I'm going to cut in with my own 2 cents here.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'm going to say, Fallen Kingdom had some great moments of no music. It had the moment where Owen first goes out looking for Blue. And you can hear the rumble of the volcano across the whole island, and he's just going through the forest, and it's like you are in their environment. It just didn't go on for too long, which is not good.
Yeah.
And then also it's quite funny because it's like this juxtaposition. Here he is.
Yeah, sorry. Did you hear what I said then or not?
No,
you just froze.
I was just saying.
I bet you were talking for an hour, weren't you?
Yeah. No, I did freeze, and I was like, no. I think having no music would really, really help, and that's what I think was. I guess the last 2 movies. I think the Fallen Kingdom, like when it got back to the manor, I think it really had the luxury of having that intense, close proximity. Like in the Raptor in the bedroom situation where it's just pure anxiety build up. And I think it helps having a smaller cast for that part of the movie. With Dominion and with Jurassic World, because it's so vast and there's stuff going on, there's theme park, there's characters, there's so many people, it wouldn't fit to have no music because there's so much ambiance and things going on. And I think that's where the broader scale of a movie makes it lose that tenseness. If we're getting back to that, because that's what I'm looking forward to with this new movie, is the cast is relatively quite small. And I think when it gets down to the nitty gritty part of this film, there's going to be, quite high stakes with no ounce of sort of safety, because we're going to be we'll be in their environment rather than our own environment, where there's always a gun, there's always a phone. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying by that? Even if it's like not something you necessarily 100% agree with, it's just that my mindset and what I'm saying, really.
No, I understand it. I agree with it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I was waiting for a counter, Jack. I was waiting for a counter.
No, I was thinking the scene where the pteranodons attacked Main Street in Jurassic World. It's like, yeah, it's a fun action sequence. It doesn't make me feel like I'm necessarily there too much. because I'm seeing it from like bird's eye view and the camera's flying down with the pteranodons and all this sort of stuff. Whereas you compare that to the Fallen Kingdom, the next movie. I was just saying it to Steve when you dropped off. Like when Owen gets out to look for Blue, there's no music, and you just hear the volcano rumbling across the island as he walks through the jungle and looks up at the pteranodons, and he's like in their environment.
It's brilliant. I love that.
But it doesn't. That one doesn't last as long as it should. It should have been longer.
Definitely.
But the thing is, it's those moments that really suck us into the movies, and then convince us of the other things that are happening, because we're sold on that world building. You know, I agree.
That whole part of the film,
music in Battle of Big Rock.
Towards the bit at the end, that there's no music at all. I don't believe when after the Allosaurus is tipped.
No, I think it's when the door opens. You know, like the door gets jutted open, then you hear the music go dum 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 dum, and he goes, and he goes over, and he goes to like.
And there's a scene where they've got the glass window, and he's pushing his snout through the window. I don't think there's any music there at all, and I think that's what works so well for that scene.
Yeah.
And then it's not until the little girl comes and shoots. It's like da-da-da, da-da-da. It's like
I can.
She's like
I can.
Music.
I can add something from experience here. So obviously we did all the video clips for Dino Tracker, and then I edited this montage of all our clips together for the official Jurassic World YouTube channel. And I was looking at it as like, I'm making my own mini Jurassic movie here. So I was like, okay, when am I ever going to get to do this again? I want to tell a story with these clips. So that's where they start off more wondrous at the beginning, and then they get scarier till, you know, they get to like all the attack videos towards the end. And then I was like, I've been sent like the expanded Jurassic World Dominion score here. I'm going to put that over it. And I've noticed many comments underneath that video on the Jurassic World YouTube channel saying the music ruins it.
Really?
And I'm like, well, I did it because I wanted to make my own little movie. I dropped the music out for the most part during the Allosaurus night attack one, and then brought it back in because I was looking at it like a movie making experience. Like, can I tell a story with these clips? Yeah. Whereas I completely agree with these people that, like, if you go on Dino Tracker and watch the clips with no music attached, they have a completely different feel to them because they feel real. Like you're actually hearing someone's phone recording these things.
Yeah.
So they feel more tense. So as this subject we're talking about, I've experienced that exact thing. Every time I see one of those comments, I'm like, yeah, you bastard. I'm like, I get it, but also I like the music.
Yeah, no, I do. I'd be interested to know what this soundtrack's going to be like, because I don't really remember anything from Dominion. Fallen Kingdom, I really like that. Really like that soundtrack. I like the Indoraptor theme, the Gothic one, and I really liked the play on. I think it's As Jurassic World Turns. And it's where Claire goes to the mansion. And it's all like wonder, and I love that bit of music too. But there is one soundtrack that has stuck with me from Dominion, and it's the one with Blue and Beta in the snow. I really like that one. So it reminds me of like Zelda or something. It reminds me of like a little Nintendo game.
The one that always sticks with me with Dominion is I can't remember what the track's called now. But it's when they're racing through Malta, and it's like, and then it does the Lost World score comes back in. You know, the and it's got the San Diego music playing in the background. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
but that's because it's mixed with the Lost World. So it's like it blends old with the new.
Yeah, definitely. Right, I think we're going to move on to probably one of our last topics, and I'm going to blend in this one, how Alien Romulus did it right, just in with our final thoughts. I think
I was surprised this has come up, considering I'm wearing an alien hat. I would just
put on a random hat. Ironic.
Put my
So the next topic is, after the break, we're going to go to and talk about Ian Malcolm. So let's find where I can do it. There we go. So please, if you are new, please give it a thumbs up and a like. Oh, well, it's the same thing, but also give it a subscribe. There we go. Yeah, please drop us all this stuff. Help us out. Look, we're trying to get bigger. We're trying to, grow this channel, and hopefully you guys enjoy what we do. So we are going to talk about Dr. Ian Malcolm. Where is the man? There he is. There he is. There's the man. Yes. So, Steve,
Right.
we were having a little chat about this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, we sort of got into quite a conversation over basically what we're going to talk about tonight, plus what rebirth is. And it sort of led us to Ian Malcolm in Fallen Kingdom in the courtroom scene right at the end, where so the quote he was saying as the film was ending was like, "We're causing our own extinction," and God, I forget what the quote is. I'm gonna have to either Google it or look it up.
Yeah, we're causing our own extinction. Like we have a car crash. Like we're basically responsible for what we've done.
Yeah.
And it kind of links in with the way Rebirth's going, is what you were saying, weren't it?
Yeah, so like the dinosaurs are heading into their own extinction, basically. They're heading back into an extinction. They're not surviving over the worlds like the climates that they are. So they're all heading to, obviously, round about the tropics and the equator line. So we were saying, like, it sort of ties into what Malcolm was saying. Although Malcolm was saying about the human extinction, we're heading into a mass extinction of our kind and a huge, like, climate change and everything like that. It did Malcolm sort of lead up to what Rebirth was going to do, like in a very slight way.
Yeah, Jack, what did you think of the ending of the Fallen Kingdom? It had quite a bit of a big deal, didn't it? Because it was meant to lead on. It didn't quite, I guess. What we got in the end with Dominion wasn't really what I was expecting based on that end scene with Fallen Kingdom, but it's more of the words that he says.
I mean, I don't think anyone saw locusts coming.
No.
But I thought it did tie back to what Malcolm was saying, because you have to remember the courtroom scene is split in two in Fallen Kingdom. So there's no hint that he was brought back another day unless he changes clothes, which I don't think he does. I think it's meant to be all one day. We actually go back in time right at the end of Fallen Kingdom, go back to what he was saying in the courtroom. So you have to take what he says in the first half as well into context, I think, here. And he was talking about how, genetic power won't end with the de-extinction of the dinosaurs, which then directly does tie to the locusts that come later, because it's like they're not dinosaurs. And obviously that also hints towards Maisie. It could have many repercussions to what he says there. But the causing our own extinction, he then repeats that line of dialogue in Dominion when he talks about how, like, we've caused our own extinction with these locusts, basically, and through genetic engineering. And, the dinosaurs basically have blinded us to that problem, and it's got out of hand.
How many times do you have to see the evidence? How many times must the point be made?
Yeah.
We're causing our own extinction. Too many red lines have been crossed, and our home has, in fundamental ways, been polluted by avarice and political megalomania. Genetic power has now been unleashed, and of course that's going to be catastrophic. This change was inevitable from the moment we brought the first dinosaur back from extinction. We convinced ourselves that sudden change is something that happens outside the normal order of things, like a car crash, or that it's beyond our control, like a fatal illness. We didn't conceive or sudden radical irrational change is woven into the very fabric of existence. Yet I can assure you it was most assuredly is. And it's happening now. Humans and dinosaurs are now going to be forced to coexist. These creatures were there before us, and if we're not careful, they're going to be hereafter. We're going to have to adjust to a new threat that we can't imagine. We've entered a new era. Welcome to Jurassic World.
That's awesome.
We're in a new era.
Just when you read that
welcome.
out, that's just awesome. I think a lot of that is taken from the novel. I think there's loads of lines from Malcolm from the novel there that Colin has written in, like woven into the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think there's like direct paragraphs.
Yeah. I like it how like Malcolm like how Jeff Goldblum it is though as well. It's like I like there's like what was the bit here? It's like you can imagine him like saying, "I'll be under control, like a fatal illness." Like he's very like mumbly, isn't it? But it's so good. It's well said. I think like Steve, you were right when you were saying how it kind of does almost link. I think this is talking about the extinction of humans if we're not careful, but it actually works for what you were saying about Rebirth with the extinction of the plot, weren't you, with the dinosaurs?
Yeah, if you were to take this quote and change it from like the extinction of humans, the danger, to human extinction and the life of that, and switch it to the dinosaurs, it could work just the same for Rebirth. Yeah.
I think with that one, you've got also like the point where you know what, we don't know what this pharmaceutical reasons for Zora going to do this exploration thing of these 3 colossal dinosaurs. You know, this could be something to do with what he's talking about. Like we're automatically thinking the obvious of, you know, these dinosaurs are going to like kill all the humans to make us extinct, but it might not be the case. He might be talking about, you know, something else that's happening rather than I know in hindsight you can always say, oh, you were talking about the locusts, but I don't even think he saw that coming. It was more of
that's the point. I think that's what he says. He's basically saying we can't imagine new threats. Right? He says that exact line. He's like, we're going to be facing new threats we can't even imagine. It's like, I think he's just putting a broad stroke over. It's chaos theory, basically. It's unpredictability. It's like we're opening this can of worms of genetic engineering, dinosaurs going crazy and being sold all over the place, and God knows what else. It's just going to be a melting pot, and we can't predict what's going to happen. And again, with Rebirth, it seems that no one could predict that the dinosaurs wouldn't adapt, or they would in certain areas, at least. I really like that idea. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's believable.
Yeah, really believable.
I see now. I'm hoping that if, you know, Malcolm's lines of dialogue throughout the original out of all of these movies have been taken into consideration with how I think it has, like the way the stories have gone, I feel like Malcolm's quotes has been very well sort of, I guess, envisioned to some extent through the whole process. I'd like.
He's like a weather vane, isn't he? He's like he'll like blow in the direction that it's about to go to, but you have to listen very carefully to what he's saying, because, like he says,
he's almost dropping hints, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
I wonder if there's anything from this quote that we can take away that would make you think. Obviously, you've said what we're going to have to adjust to a new threat we can't even imagine. Maybe that is also coincides with. Like we just, you know, attach that to the locust idea, but what if this is like a disease?
Well, it could be any idea.
It could be a disease going forward. It's so vague. It could be anything that actually works for the story purposes of the new film. Humans and dinosaurs are now going to be forced to coexist, which he's already been doing, right? So that's the type of thing which I don't think worked very well because of the way it was done, not the idea of it. The idea of it's fine. I think the idea of them being in our environments, I think is fine, but I think the way it was shown wasn't how I wanted it to be shown from a movie perspective. I wanted Battle at Big Rock for another hour and a half rather than how we were shown. I guess it didn't quite work for me, but hopefully there's time. That there's no reason why they can't use. They can use these as a guinea pig, can't they? Like it's almost like a fresh. It's not a reboot. I think one of the producers or someone said a redo of the franchise. I think was the word they used. I listened to the In General podcast today, and they were taking a quote from one of the, I think it was like IGN or one of those sort of media things, and one of the people they were interviewing said it's a redo of the Jurassic World saga, so it's almost like a fresh take, I guess. And I mean, this will help us coincide with this. I'm going to segue into this. How Alien Romulus did it right. Now, Jack, you're a massive Alien fan. I'm an Alien fan, definitely. And I've recently found a new love for the franchise because I've not really watched them religiously like you have, and I've spent a long time away from them, and I've only ever watched us doing a stupid like commentary, which is always funny rather than me taking it serious. And of course, like, it's more of been like the same way I would watch Lord of the Rings, I guess. You don't watch them every year because I feel like you have to really invest time into them. And Jurassic Park, I'm happy to just stick on in the background, and I feel like Alien, you can't do that. So
I do that with Alien sometimes.
Oh, do you? See, that's me.
There was a time. Yeah, well, there was a time just before Jurassic World came out, and I'm not saying this because I got to work on the Jurassic.
I know what you're going to say.
No, I used to say it was my favorite franchise.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, Alien was up there. It was always, when I was a kid, it was always Jurassic Park, Alien. It would like flip between the two, like. So like
remind us now. Sorry.
Yeah, so I always like loved that franchise, and it's always been one of the most interesting out there for me in terms of what the films say, like what the plots of each movie are about. Because even though they have like the classic like alien on a ship or blasting something out into an airlock, there's always some plot element that is so much more interesting and fresh with each movie. So yeah.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think
we'll get into it in a minute.
Anyway, so where I was heading to is that this new Steve hasn't seen this new film, by the way, Jack. So he's not. I don't think he's bothered by spoilers. Are you? But yeah, are you bothered by spoilers a little bit, Steve, or not really?
Oh no, go for it. Honestly,
yeah. But what I was going to go in with is that it's a very how The Force Awakens kind of goes with the same sort of scale as New Hope does. It's very, very similar, and it's almost very safe, where it's played similar to how the first Alien film is. I think
I'd disagree with that.
See, I don't. The reason, let me just hear me out from someone that's not a super fan, because it might you might see what my perspective is and why.
Mm-hmm.
Because for someone that's probably only seen the original Alien film probably 3 times, and then that's not even a joke. And I'm talking, these are sort of decades apart as well.
Yeah,
is that this first Alien film was very secluded, and it's quite a slow build up, and eventually, they start getting picked off one by one with a very small cast. You've got the android, and I think in that respect, this film kind of follows that pathway.
When you boil it down to those elements,
sure. They're the elements I'm kind of leading to, Jack. I think really more so than the story point, and it does go a bit crazy at the end, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. But with the way it's got the small cast, there's no way of escaping this situation because they've got to get. And they don't have to get batteries or something for them to escape, and so they have to go to a certain area of the ship to get them.
They're getting on the space station to get the cryopods.
That's
they want to get to this certain planet
that's
too far away, but the cryopods don't have enough.
Don't have enough battery in them, sort of thing.
No, it's the coolant. It's the
Coolant.
coolant for the cryopods. They need more coolant, but they're all being used in this lab. So they go there, but the coolant's being used to freeze face huggers, isn't it? So
That's right. So then they go into, oh yeah, that was such a cool scene with the face huggers, where they realised that the face huggers were using a heat signature, Steve, to locate the prey source to do the face hugging. So what they did is they turned the thermostat up so high that they couldn't read where the humans were, but it was getting so hot for them in there that they were almost becoming unbearable. And it was really, really well done. But because of that reason, and you knew they were like trying to be dead silent, it then become like really, really intense. And it had that sort of feel that of the isolation from the first film, what the second film had with the campsite scene. I guess similar to Battle at Big Rock, when the thingy was going inside the Allosaurus was coming in through the window. It felt right, and I come out of that movie thinking, yes, this is brilliant. I love this. And Prey had the same thing. I loved Prey. I thought it was a really well made film for something that had quite a low budget. I thought it was really good.
Do you want to hear the deep fan cut of the facehugger thing you were just mentioning?
Go on.
So I really liked that scene. I thought it was really cool, but it brings up so many questions as a fan. Because you're like, okay, so we've never known up until this point how the facehuggers hunt. Like, it's been a mystery of how they know how to find a face to hug. It's like been this kind of like creepy element to them. Because you're like, how the hell can it see me? Like, what can I do to stop it, kind of thing. Having them hunt by heat and raising the temperature of the room brings up so many questions, because in the very first Alien film, when Kane goes down into the, I guess, the storage compartment of the ship, or he goes underground, wherever that place is, that location, the first thing he says when he goes in there, and there's the eggs everywhere with the facehuggers in them, he says, oh, it's like the goddamn tropics in here. So it's hot. So it's like, okay. So it's roasting hot in there. Then in Aliens, when they go into the hive, what was it? What's his name? Frost, the character Frost, one of the Marines, goes, man, it's hotter than hell in here. And then Hudson like makes a joke of like, yeah, but it's a dry heat. Like, he says that line. It's like, okay, so it's hot in the Aliens hive, like super hot. So if facehuggers hunt by heat, like what? Like, have they actually?
Yeah, I guess that.
And then in Alien 3, a facehugger facehuggers Ripley when she's in cryo, when she's frozen. So she's not going to be giving off any heat.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's mad.
Yeah. So it like, as a deep fan, you're like, okay, this is a tense scene, but this is like having the trained Velociraptor kind of thing. It's like,
yeah,
it's like you're pulling at something here. However, there is a line of dialogue by Andy the robot in Romulus where he says they hunt primarily by heat. And it's like, okay, so
it can excuse
it can excuse for a little bit. So that's why I don't mind it personally. But I've been listening to fan podcasts, deep fan podcasts, and they've been bringing this up. Like,
oh, fair enough.
You're kind of doing a bit of the facehuggers lore.
I think with this, it was more of just the idea of I came out the movie. Yeah, I came out the movie thinking, okay, this was exactly what I wanted going into this film. I wanted to have that feeling. It felt like an Alien movie. It didn't feel like on the grand scale that like Covenant felt. It felt really open, CG heavy. Like, I think even Prometheus was very like that too. This felt like a what's the bloody director? The first film, Ridley Scott. That's it. It felt Ridley Scottish, but for me, it did.
Ridley Scott did Prometheus and Covenant. Like, he did the grandest. He did the grandest scale.
So what? That's weird how he did. That's so weird that he did that grand. Like, and he did that. So that kind of.
Well, he loves biblical sized movies. He did Gladiator and he did Exodus, Gods and Kings.
So that's such a weird contrast of movies. Then, like, how can he go from Alien 1 to Prometheus? That just so weird and bizarre.
Well, I mean, I can, from, because, you know, I'm the deep Alien fan here, so I'll explain it. Like, I'll explain why I like it, actually, rather than try and explain Scott's motives, because I don't know his motives. But like, for me, going from Alien is claustrophobic. It's like you're in tight corridors, all this sort of stuff. That's great. Love that. That's totally Alien for me. But when you get to Prometheus, the themes and what they're doing in the storyline are more grand in scale. They're looking for the origin of humans and all this sort of stuff. And when you get to Covenant, you're looking at like a genocidal android who takes out an entire race of people, like in one day. Like it's biblical in scale. Like there's that huge scene where he just wiped out a planet of people. However, for me, even though they were really grand in scale, they felt claustrophobic, even though they were really big, because they made humans feel so alone in the universe. Like you've got humans,
there is that element.
You've got the alien, you've got androids.
Sense. Yeah,
the android has just genocided all the engineers out of existence.
Yeah.
So as far as we know, they're gone. So we're alone in this like vast, endless universe with nothing but a genocidal android.
Yeah.
And the xenomorphs. And you're like, yeah, space doesn't feel so big anymore. It feels like we're trapped in a nightmare with these things.
Like, yeah.
And but then Romulus did bring it back to the small corridors, and it was so refreshing.
It was.
I'm losing my voice.
I think that's kind of where I was going. I guess that it was that aesthetic that I like.
Yeah.
So and I think going into this new film, the fact that it's got a small cast, I think it will help us have this feel again. If it goes right with all the foundations are there, aren't they? Really, for this to on paper to come out as a nice fresh change of what we've been seeing the last 3 movies. This will be a nice fresh change. It'll be lower key, hopefully. I do think we might go around the world a little bit, but I'm hoping the scenes that are with our cast members are quite intense and have real good purpose, and the dinosaur action's really good. And it's good enough to stand alone, Jack. That's for me. Like me and Steve, we've always spoke about this, haven't we? Like Jurassic World is such a good film to stand alone. It doesn't need Fallen Kingdom, and it doesn't need Dominion to survive. You can watch that film and go away with it. It can end like Claire and Owen say at the end, what do we do now? We'll just survive together.
Fallen Kingdom can be taken as a standalone movie as well. Like if you don't need any of the other movies to explain what's going on in that film.
But being said is that what you would need the movie to explain where the dinosaurs kind of come from if they didn't have
no, because they explain it, because Lockwood says we extracted DNA right under our feet. Like they have.
Oh yeah, I do actually. That's true.
They have context.
They
have context about how they genetically engineer them. Like we see,
it was just more of you just don't see them how they got them there. Yeah, actually, that's fair enough.
And I suppose
like, you don't even need to see. You don't even need to see the park.
Oh, sorry, you go.
No, you go, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say the ending of Fallen Kingdom, like it leaves it open to the whole nother film. Like you would want to see, like these dinosaurs are now escaped Lockwood's Manor, this enclosure. You would want to see what happens after.
Well, I mean, it's like an open ending. It's like if it was a standalone film, it's kind of like the Inception ending. It's like you don't know what happened. Like,
and the Inception ending pisses me off.
Yeah, or Jurassic Park's ending, because Jurassic Park ends. The lysine contingency things happening, but we don't see him die. So it's kind of like an open ending. Like there's an island with dinosaurs out there. What happens next? Yeah. When I was a kid, I always wanted to know: are they going to go back to the island? Are they going to go? What? And then when they announced Sauna, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, what is this?
Another island. But no, the only thing in Fallen Kingdom that makes it a bit confusing, if you're going to take it as a standalone film, is the name drop of Sauna. You're like, before Sauna, you're like, what the hell is Sauna? Yeah. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. Dominion is a film you need pretty much every single Jurassic film to make sense.
Yeah. Let's move on to our final thoughts. There's Dan the Man desperate to get his theory out, so I'm just going to ask and pull it out before we go. Theory time. 1. In Jurassic Park Survival, Maya Joshing will find Robert Muldoon alive and well. He will be an ally in the game until he turns into the Dino hybrid. Stay with me. She locks him away. 2. In the Jurassic World Rebirth, they find Robert Muldoon hybrid corpse along with, oh God, with other hybrids. Billy from JP3 is the broker. Henry Loomis is the kid from the second movie. What kid from the second movie?
Did they mean Benjamin?
Who's Benjamin?
You know, the boy who looks at it for his fish tank as the buck T-Rex like comes to his window.
Oh no.
Is that who they mean?
I don't know.
Because his name's Henry. It's not Benjamin.
It's clear Fallen Kingdom and Dominion are the last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker of the franchise now. Jurassic World looks like to be an alien Romulus and set things right. Well,
I totally disagree with that.
That's very subjective still, because some people do really like. I know even that's Jurassic Collectibles. David, he prefers Dominion even to Jurassic World. I can't. I physically can't with every bone in my body. But yeah, he does. But so there are people that would subjectively disagree with that. But Lloyd Jacks being one of them, he said so. Yeah, he was talking about that boy.
Yeah.
There's some proper out there theories. The problem with your theory, the man, is there's too much Camp Cretaceous going on in that theory mindset for my liking. And
I just thought there was a thought I had a minute ago, and it's just I forgot I had this thought, and I forgot what the thought is. So please bear with
me.
And
the final thoughts, that's no good.
No, I know. It was to do with expectations with.
Let's change it to final forgets.
Yeah, final forgets. It was something to do with expectations with.
Well, you were saying you had none because you've gone into it a bit more blind.
I've got zero expectations. Like I do this with films like Alien Romulus. I watched the first trailer and that was it. First ever trailer they released. I just wanted to see what it was going to look and sort of be like. That's it. And I just didn't watch anything else till the film was out. And then so when I went into the cinema and watched it, it was such a good experience because I was like, yep, I have no idea where this is going.
Nah.
I don't have shots from the trailer constantly in my head or leaked set photos. Constantly in my head setting expectations for what's going to happen and what I should expect to see. Because you end up building up a version of the film in your head.
Of course you do. You do.
Which
you
then
do
you get disappointed by because when you're like, well, they didn't do the thing that I wanted them to do. So I've always found, and it's not like it's not saying it makes you like every single film. I've just found it makes the cinema going experience and thoughts more pure. So with Rebirth being in this position again after so long, genuinely, I'm just going into it like, okay, what? Obviously, I'm expecting dinosaurs. Obviously, I'm expecting people to be eaten by dinosaurs.
Definitely not.
But at the same time, I'm not going in expecting sauna, expecting it to be R-rated, expecting
to be pleasantly surprised.
I'm just going to go in and let the story tell itself. I will say though, I wouldn't be surprised, and this isn't an expectation. I've just remembered my thought. I wouldn't be surprised if Malcolm appears in the new film. That's not now. I'm not saying that is going to happen. It's not an expectation. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if he appears for at least one scene.
Yeah, I'd like that. That's actually a good segue just to help Steve finish off this, actually, because next week you mentioned our rating. Our next podcast is this. So that will hopefully be next Thursday.
It's definitely a 12A.
It's going to be one of those two.
100%.
Yeah. So, and why, and we're going to obviously talk about why we think it wouldn't work as an R-rated film as much as we would like to see it. It wouldn't work as a franchise to go that way and work for PG-13, 12A would be the better choice. But we'll get into that next week.
I'd love to join you on that one, gents, but I'm at a wedding, I think.
That's fair enough.
Okay.
But we'll, all right, the boys will be back. Chris will be back for that one. And Steve, it is now over to you, mate, to sign us out.
Yeah, well, I just want to say on the final thoughts as well. So after Dominion, I was actually thinking that we weren't going to get any Jurassic film after this one for, well, God knows how long, but the fact that we're getting one so soon, I'm going to go into this film and just think, go in open-ended and go, I can't wait to see it. And yeah, just going to enjoy it.
I think it can be something to let's just take it at face value, isn't it? Really now,
yeah.
It's
I
brand
think it's
new.
going to be. I think it's going to be so bad. You two are going to be crawling back to Dominion like, we're so sorry.
Yeah.
We're so sorry. We judged you wrong.
We'll go
No,
over to the Fast and
definitely
Furious franchise and just join that.
Let's not do that again. Right.
No.
You'll be like human dinosaur hybrids with Malcolm. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Dinosaurs
not.
in space. And on that note,
Dinosaur characters in space.
yeah, oh, no.
And on that bombshell,
We're on that bombshell. So thanks for joining, guys. It's been a good discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so we never miss a video. Just one thing left to say. Life.
bye-bye.
We'll find a way.
Find a way. Bye-bye.
Bye.